Hey everyone, welcome back to the Incredible India podcast series. I'm Sam, your host.
And I'm Taylor, bringing the expert analysis.
Today, we're taking you on a really fascinating deep dive. We're transporting you to a quiet farming village in India called Hampi.
Yeah, it's a completely surreal place.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine standing in the middle of over 1,600 ancient monuments, and they're just scattered across like 4,000 hectares of this almost alien landscape.
Right, the boulders.
Exactly. You are surrounded
Well,
by these massive ancient granite boulders that look like they were, I don't know, carefully painted into the background rather than formed by actual geology.
they honestly look like they could just tip over at any second.
Yeah. But here is the paradox we're going to explore today. Because if you go to Hampi today, you'll find a quiet village of just a few thousand people.
Very peaceful.
Super peaceful. But in the year 1500 AD, this exact spot was the second largest city on planet Earth. Like, only Beijing was bigger.
Yeah, that staggering contrast is what makes this site so captivating for anyone who visits. You look at it today, and you
Yeah.
just see this rural tranquility, right?
Right.
You've got farmers tending to banana plantations, the slow flow of the river, and it's all mixed with these really beautiful, haunting stone ruins.
It sounds idyllic.
It is. But to truly understand where you are, you have to mentally replace those quiet plantations with a sprawling, deafening metropolis.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because for the modern listener, your time is valuable, and I really want you to grasp this.
Mm-hmm.
It is like waking up today, driving to a quiet, I don't know, rural farming town, and suddenly discovering that 500 years ago, this town was the New York or London of the 16th century.
That's a great way to put it.
It feels almost impossible, you know?
Right.
Like, how did a city of that magnitude just appear here? Who built this?
Well, to understand the sheer scale of the ghost city you're looking at, you have to look at the Vijayanagara Empire.
Okay.
They founded their capital here in 1336 AD, and Vijayanagara translates literally to the city of victory.
Fitting name.
Very fitting. Because for over 2 centuries, they pursued this relentless agenda of territorial expansion, cultural patronage, and just massive architectural ambition.
Right.
By the time they reached their peak under Emperor Krishnavaraya, who ruled from 1509 to 1529, they didn't just control a region, they dominated almost the entirety of South India.
And the wealth. I mean, the sources we're looking at for this deep dive, they highlight a level of cosmopolitan wealth that's frankly hard to comprehend.
Oh, absolutely.
We are talking about markets that didn't just stretch for a few blocks, but for kilometers in every single direction.
Literally miles of markets.
And there are accounts of temples that were just sheathed in gold, like actually covered in gold plates.
Right. This wasn't some isolated kingdom tucked away in the hills. It was the pulsing center of a global trade network.
Wow.
The empire controlled all these major ports on the coast, and they basically funneled all that international wealth inland directly to the capital.
So it was incredibly diverse then.
Yeah. Incredibly. The streets of Hampi were packed with merchants. You had people traveling from Portugal bringing Arabian horses, people from Persia trading fine textile.
Atlanta too, right?
Exactly. Chinese merchants bringing porcelain. Meanwhile, local merchants were trading massive quantities of spices, and precious stones were literally sold in heaps on the side of the street.
That's just wild. I mean, I read the account from the Portuguese traveler, Domingo Pace.
Oh, yeah. His accounts are amazing.
They really are. He walked into Hampi during Krishnadevaraya's reign, and he wrote back to Europe saying, the city surpassed Rome in its splendor. Rome.
And that wasn't an exaggeration either.
Right. And then you have the Persian ambassador, Abdul Razak, who described markets that were just overflowing with rubies, diamonds, and pearls.
Just piled up like apples at a farmer's market.
Exactly. And these weren't myths or like exaggerated travel blogs. These were official reports sent back to foreign monarchs.
Yeah, those diplomatic and commercial assessments paint a really clear picture of a city at the absolute zenith of human prosperity. The court attracted the greatest scholars, poets, and musicians of the era. You've got the Tungabhadra River flowing right through the heart of it all, lined with these elaborate gardens, pavilions, and palaces.
It sounds like a paradise.
It was. It was a civilization operating at the very highest level of administrative and cultural achievement.
But that brings up a really disturbing question, doesn't it?
It does.
Because how does a city with that much unprecedented wealth, a city that outshone Rome, with a population that rivaled modern capitals, how does it just disappear?
Right.
I mean, a superpower doesn't just vaporize overnight.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, That sudden vaporization is what makes Hampi not just an archaeological marvel, but the site of a really profound human tragedy.
Yeah.
The turning point happens in January 1565 at the Battle of Talikota. The Vijayanagara Empire faced off against the combined armies of the Deccan Sultanates.
Just really quick, we should clarify who they were fighting. The Deccan Sultanates were a group of neighboring Islamic kingdoms to the north, right?
Yes, 5 separate sultanates. Historically, they were fierce rivals who constantly fought among themselves.
So they weren't usually allies.
Not at all. But the sheer wealth and overwhelming military dominance of the Vijayanagara Empire became so threatening that these 5 rival sultanates formed an unprecedented temporary alliance just to take them down.
Wow. And we need to pause on the sheer numbers here for the listener, because the size of the Vijayanagara army was staggering.
It's hard to even picture.
It really is. Contemporary accounts put their strength at over 700,000 infantry.
Yep.
Add to that 100,000 cavalry and hundreds of armored war elephants.
Which is just terrifying to imagine on a battlefield.
Right. That is a military force of over 800,000. That should have been an unstoppable, overwhelming wall of force.
It absolutely should have been. And initially, Vijayanagara was actually winning the battle.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But warfare in this era often hinged on the fate of a single figure. The Vijayanagara king, Alira Ramaraya, was in his 80s, and he was commanding the battle from a litter.
Wait, like he was being carried around?
Exactly. And during the chaos of the fighting, he was captured by the enemy forces and immediately beheaded.
Wait, I have to push back on the logic of this.
Okay, go for it.
How does an army of over 800,000 highly trained soldiers, cavalry, and elephants just completely collapse in a single afternoon because one person is killed?
It sounds crazy to us today.
It does. Even a king.
Yeah.
The psychological break required for an army that massive to just dissolve is wild to think about.
It really seems counterintuitive today, but you have to understand the command structure and the psychology of warfare at the time.
Okay.
The king wasn't just a political figurehead giving orders from afar. He was the absolute command center.
Right.
But more importantly, he was viewed as the divine representative on earth. His physical presence was the literal banner around which the entire army rallied.
Oh, I see.
So when he fell, the entire centralized command structure dissolved in an instant. Without that singular leadership, panic sets in immediately.
So it goes from an organized army to just a mob.
Exactly. It goes from a highly coordinated military machine to an uncontrolled mass of 800,000 individuals just trying to survive.
Wow.
The army broke, and the Deccan forces just poured right through those shattered lines, making a direct run for the capital.
Which leaves the greatest city on earth completely defenseless because the entire army was either wiped out or scattered at the battlefield.
Yeah. And what followed was one of the most systematic and devastating destructions in human history.
It's awful to even read about.
It really is. Over the next 6 months, the conquering forces systematically dismantled the city. They didn't just loot it, they erased it.
They erased it.
They stripped the gold from the temples. They used crowbars to smash the intricate stone carvings. They completely demolished the palaces.
The fires, right?
Yes, they set fire to the kilometers of markets, and the fires burned so hot and so long that the actual granite itself cracked.
Oh my.
The millions of citizens fled into the surrounding countryside. In less than a year, a city that took 2 centuries to build was reduced to the skeletal ruins we see today.
That really changes how you look at the site.
It really does.
Because these aren't just pretty tourist spots for a social media post, you know? You are standing in the middle of a sudden catastrophic vaporization of an empire.
Right. That knowledge changes the entire atmosphere of the visit. But what's fascinating here is that the Vijayanagara Empire is only half of Hampi's story.
Wait, half?
Yeah. The history explains the ruins, but it doesn't explain why the city was built in this specific boulder-strewn landscape in the first place.
Oh, right.
This location wasn't chosen randomly for strategic reasons or just because it looked pretty. It was chosen because the geography itself is a mythological blueprint.
Oh, the Ramayana connection.
Yes.
For anyone listening who might not be familiar, the Ramayana is one of the grandest, most ancient epics in Indian literature. And the landscape of Hampi is recognized as Kishkinda.
Exactly. In the epic, Kishkinda is the legendary kingdom of the monkey king Sugriva and his vast army of Vanaras.
And just for those new to the epic, the Vanaras are a mythological race of forest-dwelling monkey humanoids who ultimately help Lord Rama rescue his wife, Sita.
Right. So, long before the first brick of the Vijayanagara Empire was ever laid, this specific landscape was considered deeply, inherently sacred.
And it maps perfectly onto the physical geography, which is so cool. It's not just a general vibe, it's highly specific.
Oh, very specific.
Like Matanga Hill, which towers over the ruins, is identified as the exact birthplace of Hanuman, the revered monkey god.
Yep.
Then, right across the Tungabhadra River, you have Anjaneya Hill, which is where Hanuman spent his childhood. There's even a specific cave at the foot of Hamioka Hill where the legendary duel between Sugriva and his brother Valai took place.
And the Tungabhadra River itself, flowing right through the center of Hampi, is identified as the spot where Shabari, the devoted elderly woman from the epic, waited her entire life for Rama to arrive.
I love that story.
It's beautiful. When he finally did arrive, she offered him sweet berries, tasting them first herself to ensure they were perfect. So the Vijayanagara kings deliberately anchored their massive capital to this sacred geography. They were essentially using the landscape to legitimize their rule, connecting their temporal, earthly power to this ancient divine myth.
And because of that deep mythological root, something incredible happened. Like, the empire died, but the devotion didn't.
Not at all.
Right in the center of all these ruined palaces and destroyed markets stands the Virupaksha Temple. And it is not a ruin.
No, it's very much alive.
It has been in continuous worship since the 7th century.
That continuity is just mind-bending.
It really is.
The temple was there centuries before the empire even rose. It was there while the city was burning to the ground all around it, and it remains a fully active site of pilgrimage today.
Just imagine that for a second. For you listening, put yourself in that space. You are standing in a building that has hosted the exact same morning puja rituals. The Sanskrit chanting, the ringing of the bells, the smell of camphor, every single morning without interruption for 13 centuries.
It gives you chills.
It completely outlived the mighty empire that literally built itself around the temple walls.
Yeah, that living devotion gives the central zone of Hampi a spiritual gravity that you just can't manufacture.
No, you definitely can't.
The main tower of Virupaksha rises 50 meters into the air, and it just dominates the skyline.
Standing inside that living temple, surrounded by a dead city, you really have to wonder what the rest of this metropolis looked like before the fires.
Oh, for sure.
So what is actually left in those 1600 monuments? We hear about the architectural marvels, but let's walk the listener through what it actually feels like to explore them, maybe starting from the spiritual heart and moving outward.
Yeah, that's a great approach. So if we start at the pinnacle of their religious architecture, you have to look at the Vittala Temple complex.
Okay.
It was built during Krishnadevaraya's reign. The first thing you encounter is the stone chariot at the entrance, which is carved to the exact scale of an actual wooden processional chariot.
Oh, wow.
The detailing on the wheels and the structure is so extraordinary that it's actually featured on the modern Indian 50 rupee note.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But as you move inside the complex, you encounter what truly baffles people: the 56 musical pillars.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I was trying to wrap my head around this.
It's hard to grasp.
These are pillars carved out of solid blocks of granite, right? They are not hollow. There are no hidden resonating chambers inside.
Right, completely solid.
But when you strike them, they produce clear, distinct, classical Indian musical notes. It is like the ancient craftsman took a mountain and turned it into a massive, solid rock synthesizer.
That's a perfect analogy.
But how is that physically possible? I have to push you on the science here, because its magic isn't a great answer for a deep dive. How does granite make music?
It comes down to a brilliant, almost unbelievable understanding of material science and acoustic engineering. Specifically, a phenomenon known as lithophony.
Lithophony.
Yeah, essentially ringing rocks. The local granite in the Bellary district is incredibly unique. It has a really high concentration of silica and metallic ores embedded naturally within the stone.
Oh, interesting.
These ancient craftsmen figured out that by tapping the raw stone, they could hear its inherent resonant frequency.
Wait, so they were essentially tuning solid rock.
Precisely. They carved these massive columns to exact, mathematically precise proportions.
Like changing the shapes.
Yeah, varying the thickness, the width, and the weight distribution of each individual pillar. By removing just the right amount of stone, they isolated specific acoustic frequencies.
That is insane.
It is like tuning the wooden bars of a xylophone, but they were doing it with incredibly dense, unforgiving, igneous rock. And the most amazing part is that even after 500 years of weathering, those specific frequencies haven't changed.
That is just phenomenal engineering. And it's fascinating to see how that genius shifts when you move from religious devotion to administrative power.
Absolutely.
Because if you walk over to the royal enclosure, the architecture completely changes its focus. This was the administrative brain of the empire, right?
The royal enclosure covers about a full square kilometer, and it was heavily fortified. It was the secular center.
What's the main thing to see there?
The centerpiece here is the Mahanavami Dibba. It's this massive 15-meter-high stepped viewing platform.
Yeah.
The kings would stand up there to watch the royal festivals, military parades, wrestling matches, all of that.
Must have been quite a view.
Well, yeah, and what makes it incredible is that the sides of this massive platform are completely covered in these incredibly detailed relief carvings.
Like a mural.
Yeah, they show foreigners bringing tribute, hunters, dancers, soldiers. It serves almost like a documentary film of 16th century life, just carved right into stone.
But wait, looking at the architectural models of the Royal Center, not everything is carved entirely out of solid granite in that traditional Hindu style.
No, it's not.
Because right nearby in the Zenana complex is the Lotus Mahal, which visually is so striking. It's a two-story pleasure pavilion, but it has these beautiful, sweeping, pointed arches.
Yeah, it's very distinct.
If the Vijayanagara kings were locked in this existential war with the Islamic Deccan sultanates, why were they adopting Islamic pointed arches in their own royal pavilions?
That is a brilliant observation, and it really speaks to the cosmopolitan pragmatism of the empire.
How so?
Well, despite the political and military conflicts, the Vijayanagara rulers recognized superior engineering when they saw it. They routinely hired mercenary soldiers and master architects from the neighboring Islamic sultanate.
Oh, wow. So they just brought them in.
Exactly. The Lotus Mahal is this beautiful hybrid. It blends the pointed arches and vaulted domes of Islamic architecture with traditional Hindu temple design, all topped with lotus bud finials.
It sounds gorgeous.
It is. And functionally, those plaster walls had clay pipes built into them where cold water was pumped through, basically acting as a 16th century air conditioning system against the harsh Indian summer.
That level of luxury is just astounding. We also have to mention the elephant stables right next to it, which also share that hybrid architecture.
Oh, those are massive.
Yeah. 11 gigantic chambers with these massive domed and vaulted roofs. It really underscores how vital war elephants were to their military culture. I mean, they literally built palaces for their animals.
They really did.
But beyond this grand imperial center, there's an area that shows the older roots of the city, right? Hamakuta Hill.
Yes, Hamakuta Hill is essential because it contains the pre-Vijayanagara temples.
Okay, how are they different?
Well, when you look at the later empire's monuments, they are built in the classic Dravidian style.
Which means...
For those unfamiliar, Dravidian architecture is characterized by massive towering gateways called gopurams, sprawling courtyards, and highly elaborate, dense stone carvings.
Right, very intricate.
But on Hamakuta Hill, the older temples are much more compact, simpler, and elegant with these stepped pyramidal roofs.
It gives you a sense of the architectural evolution of the place. And then there's the showstopper at the base of that hill, the Ugra Narasimha monolith.
Oh, that piece is unbelievable.
It is a 6-meter-tall sculpture carved entirely out of a single piece of granite. And it depicts the terrifying man-lion avatar of Vishnu.
It's so imposing.
Yeah, he is sitting cross-legged under a massive multi-headed serpent canopy. The temple that used to surround it was destroyed in the 1565 fires and collapsed.
Right.
Which leaves this gigantic, powerful figure just sitting out in the open, staring out at the ruins.
It's one of the most striking images in all of Hampi. And, what makes exploring all of this so unique is the physical environment itself.
Exactly. What I find so compelling about this deep dive is that Hampi isn't a museum where everything is locked behind glass or roped off.
Not at all.
It is a highly interactive physical landscape. You don't just look at it, you have to live it.
The geography honestly demands your active participation. Like, the most iconic way to start the day there is climbing Matanga Hill.
Oh, I've heard about this.
Yeah, it is 575 steep stone steps up to the highest point in the central area.
That sounds like a workout.
It is, and you want to get up there by 5:00 a.m. in the pitch dark.
Why so early?
Because when the sun rises, it catches the winding Tungabhadra River first, and then slowly illuminates this endless sea of ancient volcanic boulders and the sprawling layout of the ruined temples.
Wow.
It's really the only view that gives you the true staggering scale of the metropolis you are visiting.
And once you come down from that hike, you have to cross the river. But you aren't taking a modern ferry or walking across a steel bridge.
No, definitely not.
To get from Hampi to the ancient village of Anegundi on the northern bank, you cross in a coracle.
The coracles are a fantastic piece of living history.
What exactly are they?
They are traditional circular basket boats made from interwoven cane and bamboo. Traditionally, they were covered with animal hide, though today they use more modern waterproofing.
So what does this all mean? Like, put yourself in that moment as a listener. You are stepping into a perfectly round, spinning basket boat, a design that has not changed one bit in over 500 years.
It's like time travel.
It is. You are floating across a river that flows straight through the heart of a ruined empire. You are literally floating through history, feeling the exact same currents the ancient kings and foreign merchants felt.
And when you get to the other side, or even just exploring the hills around the ruins, the landscape itself offers an entirely different kind of adventure.
Oh, the bouldering.
Yeah. Because of those massive, uniquely rounded volcanic granite formations, Hampi has quietly become one of the premier rock climbing and bouldering destinations in the entire world.
That is such a surreal image. You have historians delicately brushing dust off 7th century carvings. And 30 feet away, modern athletes are chalking their hands to scale the exact same ancient rocks.
It really is a collision of worlds.
It is. And then you can wander back into the Hampi Bazaar. This street follows the exact path of the ancient royal market. Today, you can shop for traditional Lambani crafts right in the shadow of the Virupaksha Temple Tower.
And we should really highlight the Lambani crafts because they are a vibrant part of the local culture.
What makes them special?
Well, the Lambani are a semi-nomadic community who settled in the region centuries ago. Their textile work is famous for its incredibly intricate, brightly colored embroidery that's heavily embedded with mirrors, coins, and shells.
Oh, that sounds beautiful.
It really is. It's a beautiful way to take a piece of the region's living culture home with you.
Which brings us to the practicalities. If you are inspired by this deep dive to actually make this journey and see these unbelievable sights for yourself, there is a right way to do it.
Timing is everything for this trip.
When should you go?
You absolutely want to visit between October and March. Do not go in the summer months of April and May.
Too hot.
Way too hot. The heat radiating off millions of tons of exposed granite is completely unforgiving.
Good tip. How long do you need to really see it without rushing?
2 to 3 days is the sweet spot. You can rush the main royal sites in a day, but to do the sunrise hike up Matanga Hill, take the coracle across the river, and actually absorb the atmosphere of the temples, you need a minimum of 3 days.
And getting there.
Getting there is very straightforward. The nearest railway station is Hospit Junction, which is about 13 kilometers away.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah, there are excellent overnight trains and sleeper buses from major hubs like Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Goa, making it very accessible.
What about the cost?
The entry fees are incredibly reasonable. It's about 110 rupees for Indian citizens and 1,700 rupees for foreign nationals to access the ticketed monument zones.
It's such an accessible piece of world history, especially considering the sheer magnitude of what you're seeing.
It is, but it leaves you with something much larger to think about.
What's that?
Well, when you stand on top of Matanga Hill and look out over Hampi, you see the ruins of a superpower empire. The Vijayanagara kings built structures of unimaginable wealth and genuinely believed they would rule forever. Yet, their entire world was wiped out in a matter of months.
It's sobering.
It is. It leaves you wondering about our own era. When you look at the skylines of New York, London, or Tokyo cities that feel so powerful and permanent to us today, how much of our own modern ambition is just temporary architecture?
Wow, yeah.
500 years from now, what will be our ruins and what will be the granite boulders that simply outlast us?
If you decide to travel to Hampi, we have a recommendation. 5 Senses Tours organizes tours across India which are immersive cultural experiences. You can email contact@fivesensestours.com. Note 5 is written as a numeral in contact at fivesensestours.com or WhatsApp to +919-845-677-446.